This video is sponsored by Ace Cafe London, a place that welcomes all with a passion for motorcycles, cars and rock and roll. Established in 1938, it quickly became the home for petrol heads and became the world's most famous motor cafe. Remember to check out their link below for all their upcoming events. Hello, I am the Rhythmic Biker. And did you know the UK government's plan to ban new petrol motorcycles from sale comes into effect in 2035? Last episode, we had Maynard, a multi-talented biker with a classical and classy looking cafe racer. In this episode, we take a look into the future. These are the wolf tails.
The Harley-Davidson is a complete different way of riding. What does that mean? I'll explain it to you in a little bit of layman terms. You have a Lamborghini, yes? Vroom! You have a Ferrari. Vroom! You have a Rolls Royce and you have a Bentley. Vroom. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, welcome. My name is DJ Supreme. In case you don't know who I am an international DJ, radio broadcaster, an actor, and also a keen chef who loves to get his cookout. Why not find out a little bit more about me at #DJSupreme UK across all your social networks. One more time, DJ Supreme UK, one word across all your social networks. Right now, I'm gonna let you know a little bit more about who I am as a biker.
So we are joined by DJ Supreme, who can be found on Instagram as DJ Supreme UK. And he has brought along the Harley-Davidson Livewire, a fully electric motorcycle which may only be the beginning of a totally new era of motorcycles. With that said, let's waste no further time and dive straight in to the deep dive. Hello and welcome to the deep dive. As you can see, we've got Ace Cafe London here in the background and I'm joined by my good friend Supreme. Supreme, what have you brought in for us today?
Well, I've been riding this baby around for about the last 2 months with courtesy of Harley-Davidson and my friends there. It is called the Harley-Davidson Livewire. It's actually made by a company which is called Livewire, and I think they've licensed it for about, I do believe, 2 years and maybe more.
Fantastic stuff. And how long have you been riding the Livewire now then?
8 weeks approximately. It's been a barrel of fun, and I think the name Livewire actually fits the bike. I couldn't think of a better name to give an electric bike that goes 0 to 60 in just under 3 seconds.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that's important about where we start. Obviously it's a fully electric motorcycle, but we don't want to dive straight into the controversy of electric right away. I want to talk about the performance. What is this like to ride as a motorbike? Because I think first and foremost, it is a motorcycle. Some people forget that. What is it like to ride, in your opinion?
As a motorcycle with an existing leg injury, it's perfect because you don't have to change gears. It's twist and go. Power's there with a twist of a wrist. And when I say the power's there, the power is there in a supreme way.
Oh, definitely. I believe Harley have put on their website, it's about 104 brake horsepower and about 116 newton meters of torque. So it's not a slouch, is it, by any stretch of the imagination?
I mean, with the twist of a wrist, the power is just there like a rocket. It's boom. But then, if you see the tester review, you know that these electric babies, they're quick off the mark, but they top out. They can't ever got that top end.
Really? Yeah. Very interesting. What sort of top speed? I know, obviously, we won't disclaim where and when, but what sort of top speed
70 miles per hour is very comfortable. 70 miles per hour. 70 miles per hour is very comfortable.
Very comfortable.
And it's there in, as I said, you can get there just over 3 seconds at 70.
Fantastic. And what's it like to ride? Obviously here, we're in London, we're in the capital. What's it like around this area?
Okay, as you can tell if you've seen my page, I'm a foodie and I only give honest reviews. So I'm going to give an honest review of this. It is a stunning piece of equipment. There is drawbacks, but of course I'm an experienced rider. So if you're an experienced rider, you're more than okay with one of these. Yeah. But of course there's the drawbacks of no one can hear you. When you're on the bike, what's the first thing you do? Bang, 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 to let people know you're there. Loud cans save lives. Exactly. Are we agreed on that?
Yep, we're agreed. We are so agreed.
Okay, so I would say that is the only drawback I can think about this baby. And it's a big one. And there's another drawback, but I don't think it's as big as that. That's my main drawback, is the sound. The other drawback, of course, is that you need to plan your journeys.
Yeah.
It's not something you can just hop onto and say, oh, I'm going to go down to Wood Green, here we go. Because when you get to Wood Green, from southeast London, you may need a charge. So if you haven't found a charging point, maybe a little bit of a sticky situation. However, proof is in the pudding. You get this.
Ooh.
This comes for free with your Harley-Davidson Livewire. You can take it to work, so as long as you can get to a mains,
yes,
you're good to go anywhere where you can plug it in. But again, there is one little drawback. You have to get this to the plug, to the bike,
out the window.
You can't use an extension cable.
You cannot.
You can't use an extension cable. No, we're not starting with an extension cable. And obviously, there is the charging time. But then if you've just got into work at 9 o'clock in the morning, you're more than able to go home at 4 o'clock with a full battery.
Full battery. I think it's probably worth pointing out, obviously, we've decided to come mobile today, come and meet you here at the Ace Cafe. This getting on the motorway maybe to Milton Keynes, Watford area, not really ideal.
As I said, it's planning your journey.
Planning your journey
ahead. Planning your journey ahead. So it's not that you cannot use this as your only vehicle, but you need to plan your journey. Now, I would say there's also a Tesla charging point which does it in super speed time. So that's very quick, but I mean, everyone's having a go at these bikes, and I don't discriminate against anyone, any kind of religion. I do not discriminate against any bike other than mopeds. Other than mopeds, I don't really like mopeds, but
there's none here, we're all right.
Yeah, we're not mopeds today, but other than mopeds, I like every bike, crossers, dirt bikes, and of course, to jump on an electric bike was the next stage in evolution. And like it, hate it, love it, whatever, you're gonna have to ride electric at some point. And I think people are not really taking into account how new the technology is.
Yeah, it's not been here for 20, 30 years. It's been maybe in development, maybe in thought process, but this is really the first time in the last sort of 3 years where we're seeing them now on the road, here in the flesh.
So I mean, the charging points are growing around London at an extremely alarming rates. It's like they're popping up everywhere. You've got electronic petrol stations now in London. So if you don't live in London, you're all good. But as you said, getting to Milton Keynes, you're gonna have to check that petrol station halfway there, or make sure there is a charging point at Milton Keynes you can go to, or of course, bring this along and say, I know electric's just gone up, mate, but can I be cheeky and plug this in?
You'll have some good friends wherever you're going. Yeah. I love it. Speaking of, obviously, the fact that it does have to be charged and it is an electric motorcycle, what is the charge time like? What are you looking at, depending on where you are and where you're going?
On an empty, 10 hours.
10 hours from absolute empty to completely full.
Yeah.
Okay, and I do know these obviously do have a fast charging option if you can get to the right charging point, you've got the right connector. What are you looking at fast charge wise?
2.5, 3 hours.
2.5, 3 hours. Okay.
On an empty. But as I said, I have got used to this baby, and the trick to riding around an electronic bike is keep it topped up. See, but I was one of those guys with a petrol tank, and you know, when you ride around, you wait for it to be empty before you go to a petrol station. I don't suggest you do that with an electric bike. Just keep it topped up, and you're always good to go.
Brilliant. I think the thing that has always amazed me about these bikes since they come out is it's almost like, for me, it's very un-Harley. And what I mean by that is obviously you've got the Showa front forks, you've got the Showa rear shock, and it's just, there's so much performance based. It's almost like sports.
You've got a very keen eye.
I have got a very keen eye. I saw them as we came in, and I thought,
okay,
it's almost like a sports bike spec, but on a Harley-Davidson.
But it would have to be. So I've done the whole transition, which I'm sure we spoke about or we'll speak about again. Done the whole transition from being an ex-racer to sports bikes to riding Harleys. And the Harley-Davidson Lowrider S has Brembos, feels like a sports bike. But then with this, as you can see, you have the Brembos, as you said, on each thing, and they're very necessary. Brembo, Michelin, they all contribute to the design of this vehicle.
Oh, definitely. I think it is worth pointing out that obviously we've mentioned the torque figure, but this really does pick up pace very quickly, and to have something that's going to stop you, like almost sport performance Brembos, it's like you say, it's needed on a bike like this.
Stopping power is needed on this, most definitely.
What sort of 0 to 60 are we looking at on something like this?
Under 3 seconds. So
under 3 seconds.
You need it. I mean, as soon as I got it and I felt the brakes, I'm like, thank you very to God. It was very necessary.
Definitely, but obviously around here we watch our speed.
Yeah,
of course.
We said 20 miles, 30 miles, 30 miles an hour. Just keep it within
that we're doing.
Limit.
I think something else that's really worth talking about this bike, and it really surprises me, is the weight of it. Harley claimed 251 kilograms.
Yep.
That's pushing sport tourers almost at that weight, but it doesn't look a very big bike. All that weight is very sort of hidden in that massive motor.
Weight for the battery. So I would say the weight is probably the battery.
When riding it, do you feel an issue regarding the weight at all, or is it just completely disappeared?
I mean, I love when people just look at you, oh, this is a nice bike, and then you just give it, and just fly off.
You've mentioned about the noise as well, the fact that it hasn't got any noise. It's obviously an electric motor. If you're really close to it, you might be able to hear the slight whine, if you will, of that motor as it goes off. But ultimately, especially around an area like this where we can hear the petrol motors go past, it's very hard to hear. Very hard to hear indeed. How is that riding around London? I know we spoke about it.
I'm an experienced rider, and to all riders out there, I do believe no matter what you're riding, no matter how long you've been riding for, it's not a matter of who is right or wrong. It's a matter of who stays alive. If you're on a bike, you have to ride defensively. So because I've been in many accidents, unfortunately, you know, as part of biking, broken almost every bone in my body, I now ride defensively because I don't think I can break any more bones in my body.
Not safely, yeah, this is it. Go on, calm it down. That is brilliant. You have mentioned that this is the future. You believe electric motorcycles is where it has to go.
I will always ride a petrol bike as long as I'm legally allowed to on a public road. However, manufacturers don't have that option to manufacture petrol bikes.
No, that is very true. I believe the ban on petrol motorcycles, comes into effect on new sale petrol motorbikes. It's 2035. So that's less than 15 years where we really need to start making sure that this technology is maybe not bulletproof, but definitely ready for a much more wider range of use.
And as we can see, they're rolling out now, as you said, Shell petrol stations. They got the rapid charging points there. So I mean, I haven't had a problem charging this in London.
Okay, that's very good.
No problem charging in London. There's loads of points available, and as we said, we've got another 15 years, so you can imagine how far the technology is going to go by then. Probably have wireless bike charging.
We probably, that would be incredible if we could get some sort of system where it's charged on the go. Who knows?
But maybe charge itself as you're using it.
Yeah, this is it, almost like a regeneration period, as depending on where you are, maybe in the rev range.
You drive your car, it charges it as it goes along.
The possibilities are endless, and where do you see the future, being more specific with Harley-Davidson? Because I was very surprised when this came out. I was Harley-Davidson electric motorcycle, but I have test rode one a few months ago. I was thoroughly impressed by it. Do you think the future of Harley, do you think they're going to push out more models of electric motorcycles?
I think it's bigger than Harley. I think it's the whole motorcycle industry, because it's something the government are ordering. It's nothing that any manufacturer wants to create, is what they're forced to create. And they may want to actually take on the board what's happening with global warming, zero carbon emission prints, and maybe they would prefer to make a hybrid as opposed to a fully electrical bike, but the choice is not theirs. So it's not a matter of whether the future is electric for Harley, it's a matter of whether the future is electric for all automobiles.
Of course. Yeah, this is it. We're starting to see it more and more. In my local area, we've now got electric scooters that people are on all the time. I believe it's probably popular around London as well.
Not anymore. You're not. I thought you was on Instagram. The Metropolitan Police just took them all away. Seriously.
People ride them a bit crazy.
They took away the electric pedal bikes. They took away the electric scooters. So
I think that's how they're rode, isn't it? This is now the future.
MOT, tax, insurance is what you're going to need to ride an electric vehicle, whether it be a 750 electric pedal bike or whether it be a 125.
Whatever it may be, it's the future. Something I do need to talk about, and it is an opinion-based thing. I suppose it depends on where you are in your stage of life, but I was on Harley-Davidson's website yesterday. The Harley-Davidson Livewire on there at the moment starts at $28,995. It's a hefty price tag, in my opinion, for a motorcycle. Where are we going? Is that, would you want that to come down as the years progress and the technology gets?
I think the perfect thing to say is how much does the Tesla cost?
Well, when they first came out as well, they were rock top dollar.
I think that it's not a matter of that Harley are charging you £28,000 for the bike. I think it's a case of the technology is so in development. It's so new, it's so fresh. It's like when TVs came out. I paid £5,000 for my Sony plasma TV. Now you can get an OLED for like £499.
Yeah,
56 inch. As the technology moves on, the price comes down.
You think the price will adjust itself
100%.
Depending as we go further on and the technology advances?
100%.
That would be. I think that would be the thing. Because at the moment, yeah, it's the accessibility. I do think these bikes do get electric bikes in general. They get a bit of a bad rep from people who maybe haven't even test rode one. Do you know what I mean?
I posted a picture. I'm a little bit of a social media freak. I posted a picture of me posing on one in a forum, a bikers Harley-Davidson forum, and I came under attack like as if I was the one who said that we should make electric bikes. I love petrol bikes. I'm a petrol head. But as I said, I don't discriminate against any bike, and if it's an electric bike here, of course, being Supreme, I'm gonna try it.
Of course.
And in my opinion, it's a lovely piece of kit. It's practical for around town currently, as even though it's new technology, it is practical to use one of these in London.
Brilliant.
For me to come down to Milton Keynes and commute back to London deserves a little bit of planning.
Give it a few more years and maybe that won't be so far-fetched. Maybe that will be a one charge option. We never know. It's how they can make these batteries go.
I think that is to me, I think that's going to be the point that is going to just change it. The battery technology. How fast do you charge the battery? How long does the battery last? I mean, take your iPhone. So went back to an iPhone 5. You was on it for 2 hours, it died. Now you can be on your iPhone 12 for the whole day.
Exactly.
Charging, you've got wireless charging too.
Yeah, so who knows? If it's possible there, it's got to be possible.
Most definitely.
Who knows? Obviously, we've mentioned it's going to be less than 15 years where this starts to really become almost compulsory. Do you see yourself within those 15 years, even maybe before? Obviously, you've said you're an experienced biker, you've rode a lovely list of bikes that we'll get into. Do you see yourself owning an electric motorcycle full-time alongside maybe a fleet of
100%.
100%.
100%.
Brilliant. 100%. I think that's it. It's about being open and engaging to this future because it is coming. We have to.
And we have to do our part. I mean, it was Natural Earth Day last week.
There you go, isn't it? It's smack right there. I think on a concluding thought, you've mentioned there, you put on Instagram, people came at you with some, or not sure of it. Have you had any of that in person? Maybe being here at the Ace Cafe?
In person, it's well, you get the odd gist, you'll get the odd dig, but I mean, in general, most people are just really taken aback by the technology. I mean, to think that where we've come from to have an fully electric bike that goes as fast as it does, to 60 in 3 seconds. Most people just really appreciate it when they see it.
Yeah. Oh, it's almost like a work for me of engineering. You know what I mean? A piece of art engineering. We've always talked about when, for example, when the Triumph Rocket 3 came out and it has its insane torque figures, I thought that was a masterclass of engineering. I think the same with this. I think
100%.
It just from Harley as well, they've really gone out there with this because it was the one that really made me think, right, I need to test ride that. Yep. That's the one I need to get on.
Livewire have done very well with the software.
Yes.
And can only imagine what they're going to do over the next 5 years.
It will be great. And on just one final note, your concluding thoughts, riding it around, how is it as a bike of the future?
Riding around town, I can see that this bike has a lot of potential. There's obviously a lot more that can be done, i.e. we're gonna have to do something about the charging, and you have to do something about the noise. I'm not sure whether or not it's going to be necessarily about making the vehicle make noise, or maybe the vehicles, other vehicles on the road will be alerted that there is a bike or a car coming towards them, because the problem is not just associated with motorcycles, it's also associated with electric cars.
I think that's important. A lot of people forget that as well. The Prius and the Teslas, they don't make a lot of noise. So
electric cars, electric bikes, I think that there's going to have to be some sort of sensors, warning system that alerts the newer rider, an experienced rider, to potential hazards. As an experienced rider like yourself and myself, we're fully aware of all the potential dangers hidden behind the corner.
Of course, you never know what's in that blind spot, you never know what everyone else around you is doing, you can't predict the future.
I think you just said it, that's the difference. What I think makes bikers stand out from drivers is that we never take anything for granted.
Never. you need that sixth sense, and I think you need it especially on something like this where you've lost that element of sound to warn people.
Spidey sense.
Spidey sense. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love the Livewire. Thank you so much for talking us through it, and I look forward to learning a bit more about yourself.
Cool. I think like most single men, it was a breakup of relationship, it was a long relationship, broke up, and I wanted to just do something for myself that made me happy, and I bought my first 600 bike. I'd been around bikes before. I had a 125, 250, but I would say that my relationship with bike life and two-wheel life started with my first GSXR 600. Nothing mattered once you started that key. It was just the ultimate freedom, and I think that is why I still ride today. The feeling is freedom. It's like freedom. Once you turn that key, you don't have a choice to worry about your bills, whether your missus is stressing you out, whether your boss is getting on your nerves, because if you do, you're going to be roadkill. So once you start that key, it's just you and that open road and that sense of freedom and belonging to an exclusive elite club. That's bikers. Okay, let's recall this, let's pick it up. Where did this all begin? Okay, it began with an Aprilia 125 and it went to the 250, but I would say that that wasn't my first real experience of two-wheel life, because anybody who knows about riding knows that riding a big bike is completely different from riding a 150 or 250. So I would say, ultimately, I fell in love with two-wheel life with my first GSXR 600 when I went on to the injection. Then of course I made the upgrade to a K1, K2, then to a K3. I've owned numerous bikes. I've had fell in love with Italians, and we had a love-hate relationship, i.e. they were so sexy, I loved them to death, but they were so unreliable, they would break your heart. So I then moved back on to the GSXRs, the Hayabusas, and Honda SP2s, Aprilia Millis, the ultimate bike for me, the K3 GSXR, then the K5. And that, I would say, makes a transition. We're going to skip a lot of bikes and move on from the K5, because this is very significant to where I currently stay with sports bikes. I love the Caddy, but riding around town as a Londoner who used bikes to commute, I would have to say that the BMW RRS 1000 was my dream bike. And as soon as I got on one, I was like, hold on, wait a minute. Something's not right here. This feels a little bit too familiar. The lightweightness of it, the power, but it was more redefined. And then I did a little bit of research and I found out it was actually built off of a GSXR K5, which was one of my all-time favorite sports bikes. I subsequently had a serious accident. I still live with pain to this day. I'm just trying to rebuild my life. I'm getting back up, and I hope you'll all enjoy the journey. D Supreme UK, you can find out about my journey there. But I'm currently on a transition now where I can't afford to have no more collisions on a public road. I will still always ride a sports bike, but if I go on a public road, I'm completely defensive, and I only play around on the racetrack on a sports bike. So that then led me on to start dibbing and dabbling with other bikes that I've never used, upright bikes, naked bikes, and even a Harley-Davidson. So I bought myself a Dyna, and then I bought myself a V-Rod, and I said, okay, you get it now. Because what a lot of people don't have, which I've been fortunate to have, is that I've been able to get on numerous different bikes. And The Harley-Davidson is a complete different way of riding. And what does that mean? I'll explain it to you in a little bit of layman terms. You have a Lamborghini, yes? Vroom! You have a Ferrari. Vroom! You have a Rolls Royce and you have a Bentley. Vroom. Both have the same power, but driven in a complete different way. And I think that's the best ideology to explain the difference between a sports bike and a cruiser. To explain how I feel when I get on a bike, i.e. the bike and the rider, I'll have to go back to where my love of petrol started, which is cars. I was a petrol head. I loved four wheels. Give me a V8, V12, as long as it went to 0 to 60 real fast, I was involved. But over the years, I started to realize, oh no, wait, this is a little bit boring. Yeah, I can do a handbrake turn, yeah, I can drift. But it felt like the car was doing most of the work. And once I jumped on a bike, I was like, nah, this is completely different. Because when you're on a bike, you feel every pothole, you feel everything. You make the bike work, the way you lean on the bike. So I fell in love with bike life because I feel that a bike is an extension of your body. It's like something like out of the Terminator, like you become a machine as soon as you turn that key. People say to me, but you nearly lost your life and you still ride, are you mad? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And everybody has their vice in life. Two-wheel life is my life. And without it, I don't think I would have a life. And it's just something that I need in my life. I found a way to be more responsible. I found a way to enjoy it more safely. To me, it is the ultimate drug. You know, like I hear this all the time, like, why do you still ride? I had an accident, I'm never gonna get on a bike again. And I kind of laugh when I hear it. Because when I hear it, it just means that you were never really a biker. And I think any real biker will say that. You crash, you get up. If you crash and when you say, that's it, I'm not riding again, maybe bike life weren't for you and you're riding for all the wrong reasons. I will ride with one arm and one leg. I'll do whatever it takes. Like many of my other friends, I've got friends who've lost legs, lost arms, who are still riding. I'll ride. As I said, it's part of my life and I need it in my life. It's strange about this motorcycle culture and community. To me, I got into it at a time when there was no race back then. I got involved in two-wheel life when it was called a biker. One word, biker. Not a group, not a gender, a biker. And unfortunately, I feel that like a lot of things in life, division is affecting the culture, which makes fractions look smaller because of the divisions between them. It's not just black and white. You've got black groups here, you've got female groups there. This all divides the culture. I would say there's nothing in my life where my colour hasn't come into play, but I would say that within the biking community, it's something that is swiftly dealt with in a positive way. I wouldn't say that prejudice comes from just being black. Today I've got on my Jordans, I haven't got on my ski mask, I haven't got on my hoodie, but if I went out, I'm a black rider, someone who has had certain interaction with people from my community may have a view of who I am without speaking to me because they haven't spoken to me. And I think a lot of people's stereotype is just the way life is, unfortunately. And that also affects my white friends. I've got white friends who wear tracksuits. In fact, I'm not going to name the dealership, but I'm not going to name the company. My friend actually yesterday went to purchase a very expensive motorcycle from central London. And he went in his tracksuit, similar to what I would do. I don't dress up to go make purchases. And when he went there and he was pulling the bike outside, someone pulled up to him and said, "Oh, I thought you was going to steal the bike wearing that tracksuit." And he was white, and there was a white guy said that to him. So again, I think that there's so many different stereotypes out there now that it's hard to see how it wouldn't affect any movement, any culture, any employment, any place of work. It's part of life, which hopefully by people interacting, and I see it within the youth, and I have great enthusiasm. I see the younger generation don't have this problem. I think it's something that is left with the older generation. When I look at the youth of today, you've got an Asian guy eating jerk chicken. I was in a restaurant. If you don't believe me, go to my page. You can see it. You will see it there. I was a Chinese guy. He was eating jollof rice, which is my motherland food. I'm Nigerian. I'm not Jamaican, even though you rice and peas. But yes, it shouldn't be no divisions. It's all about do what you like, wear what you want, listen to what you want, eat what you want, as long as it's safe. This whole thing with race and motorcycles, I can't do it like that, because it's the same as why are there not many black people playing tennis? Why are there not many black people playing golf? And that's what it comes into account of. And it affects me probably. I mean, I come from a single parent home. My mum's not going to buy me a cross bike for me to go do trial bike riding like some of my white rider friends have had to. It's their first experience. Their first experience wasn't getting their provisional and getting a license and getting a bike. Their first experience of two-wheel life was, here you go, son, here's a crosser, we're going to the forest, jump on it, have a blast. So I think as other cultures, I'm not just going to put it down to black, as other cultures become more affluent, have more disposable income, have more support from a family unit, they do more things as a family and are able to provide their kids nicer things, maybe a little petrol bike, a 125 bike, and that's one aspect of it. The other side of it is that obviously when people talk about bikes, it's not just for transportation, it's not that. A lot of it takes place on the racetrack, doesn't it? So how many people do you know who lived in the inner city could afford to take their kid to Silverstone for the weekend in a caravan with two bikes at the back of it and pay for the tires? Do you know how expensive it is? I mean, I used to club race and it was very, very expensive. It was not something that's cheap, and a lot of people who do it now are successful businessmen and they don't even have a bike license, they just have their track bike. So I think it becomes down to accessibility. In terms of black representation in the motorcycle community, it should just be what it should be organically. And I don't think that that's a reflection on the motorcycle community. I think that's a reflection on life.
So there's a taste into electric motorcycles. Please do let us know what you think about electric motorcycles and fragmentations in the motorcycling community today. This video is kindly brought to you by the Ace Cafe in London. Please remember, guys, that these episodes are not possible without your support. Please consider purchasing any of our merchandise in the links below. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Remember, we would also like to have you here as a guest on Wolf Tales with your pride and joy and sharing all your crazy experiences as a biker. I am the Rhythmic Biker, and these are the Wolf Tales. These are the Wolf Tales.